Hello and welcome to our podcast, Real Out Loud. Life happens, we get it. Join us and together we'll be engaging in conversations about the truths not spoken of, reflections about life and other issues, and experiences that reel or bring women off balance. I'm your host and my name is Nicole, and joining me will be my co-host, Pinkinia, and on our platform, we'll have guests from different facets of life, some who have also had it real with life, and some professionals to give us information on these reflections as we figure out how to survive the real. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to a fresh installment on our podcast, Real Out Loud. My name is Nicole, and with me, I've got my co-host, Pinkinia. Hi, Pinky. How are you doing?
Molweni Makadi. I am good. How are you?
I am well, and yourself? I like the way
I'm
that
bubbly.
you're greeting us today. You seem
I'm
a little
bubbly
bit
today
happy. What's happening?
with energy.
You've got a lot of energy. So
Yeah, too much sugar.
So I'm so much looking forward to what you have to contribute for today's segment, where we are going to be talking about society's struggle with medical labels. When we talk of medical labels, Pinky, what comes to your mind?
Okay, I think it's a medical condition, but then because we're dealing with the society, we will call them medical labels. You know, people with HIV, people with dementia, COVID, even a lot, fibroids, addiction, cancer, epilepsy. Yeah, it's a lot.
I'm
It's a
also
lot.
thinking things like erectile dysfunction, vaginismus,
Mhm.
a lot of such conditions. But why do we call them medical labels? Is it not the stigma?
It is definitely a stigma, you know.
When we talk of stigma, what comes to your mind? Because from my end, I'm just thinking when we talk of stigma, we are literally seeing people as different and we are treating them different.
Into my mind, there comes discrimination, there's negative thoughts or negative way of people that look at you or associate with you because of your mental or your
Your
medical
physical.
illness.
Okay, so it's basically people picking up on certain socially undesirable traits and then they magnify those. They exclude people in society based on their assumptions, maybe preconceptions or generalizations that they've developed because of certain experiences and outcomes at the end of the day. Okay, so what are these stigma experiences that these people who have medical labels suffer from? What are some of the stigma experiences that come to your mind?
You have, okay, before we even go out there into the community or whatever, like at home, it's not everyone who become, let me say, you diagnosed with HIV and AIDS. People wouldn't want you to touch their plate or to share a cup with you. You know those situations where you're like, pass me another spoon, or when you used to feed the child like one spoon to the child, one spoon to you. Now everybody will be looking at you like, no.
So you're telling us that I'm not only dealing with the condition now, but there's also that, that thing of being sidelined, that thing of being isolated, or can we call it rejection from family?
It's not a rejection. I wouldn't say it's rejection, because if it was rejection, then maybe they're putting me out, like, go stay somewhere. It's not there yet. They might be thinking of it, but then it's not done.
But it's an element of it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm a recovery drug addict. Now everyone is hiding money, or we never speak of money, or we never speak of cigarettes or something. Yeah, like
there's a lot of sensitivities around the matter because you are present.
People will be tense
situations. Okay, so now I'm thinking you are even drawing my attention to social media itself. I found myself sending some jokes once in a while on my social platforms. In my situation, because I'm not suffering from this condition, it becomes very easy to find the humor out of that particular
Out of
situation.
the
But I'm also thinking about someone who is going through that thing, and then I'm posting a joke about a certain condition, and then
yes,
people,
yes,
comment, they say a whole lot of things at the end of the day. So you are literally directing us towards the fact that, sometimes the stigma comes in an informal way than it is actually planned, right?
yeah.
What is your experience of, stigma through social media? Have you had an experience maybe when you did post something or you commented on something and only to realize that this was a
Yes,
bad move?
I actually did. Like on WhatsApp, we always have those family groups and all of that.
Mm,
So
mm,
one of our family member actually came out that they are with HIV,
mm,
and then years later and so forth, I found this joke. I'm even ashamed to actually say it. Found this funny meme, and then I was like, oh, this is funny. Post it there. Then there was no comment. I
mm,
stayed there like, why is nobody commenting? Then my little sis came to my inbox like, yeah, dude, are you? Yeah. Then I was like, oh no, did I just do that? Then
mm.
it just became awkward. Yeah.
So you are
Uh,
literally sharing with us that, sometimes even those social media jokes, no matter the fact that they can be informal, we don't know what other people are going through in their own spaces out there. And that can have
True.
a negative impact on someone emotionally, meaning that they're
Yes.
not going to come out to their family or their friends anymore about a certain condition or struggle that they are struggling with, because they're afraid of that humor that comes afterwards with my pain. You're
Hmm.
laughing and you're making
Uh,
jokes, but I'm in pain and I'm suffering.
I'm also still trying to actually come to terms with this condition, and it
Mm,
seems as if you're laughing in my face.
mm, mm. So it actually affects that ability to actually accept the condition. So once I struggle to accept the condition, then it means that it's gonna impact on my ability to get help as well. That's
Yes.
why
Yes.
sometimes
Oh,
people end up in denial. I don't have this problem. Only when it gets worse, then they are moved to
yeah,
get
it's
help.
vulnerable.
Isn't that misrepresentation of a medical condition? When, let's say someone is mentally sick, I've seen that mostly in our societies, that maybe a person can have, they are acting all weird, they are having memory loss, they're acting strange, they talk about things that do not make sense and stuff like that. Maybe a person will actually be suffering from things like dementia, but our
Yeah.
society then creates a medical label of witchcraft, which means that
Yes.
there's a misrepresentation of the actual condition. How then do you survive that?
I think the first way to get through it is to actually have people who totally understand, and people who are willing to learn more about your medical condition around you. It might be one person or an entire family, but
Mm.
you need to be around those people more.
But before we move to
Safely.
the coping, let me draw you back again to some of the emotional struggles that these people with certain medical conditions that are being labeled end up struggling with.
Coming out to family or friends, actually coming out and telling them I have this medical condition. It's
It becomes very
it's not
hard.
it's not easy at all. It's not easy at all, because you're like, how would they react, or how would they see me?
Mm.
How would they take it?
And you're thinking of some of those experiences that you have shared with us, that
Mhm.
sometimes people can comment negatively on your physical changes. You are
Oh my
losing
guy.
weight. You're losing weight so much. What is happening with you? And it starts to affect your self-esteem as a person at the end of the day, because obviously when you are not well with something, sometimes your body also gives up. Your body starts to change, your looks start to get different over time.
Yeah, and then that's when we get the most of those social comments. Like it's
Mm.
it's not like everyone can notice, even if I'm not broadcasting it out there, but it's like everyone can notice it because of
There's
the
one that,
physical change.
yes, there's one that I'm quite familiar with, that most people ask women particularly. why don't you have a child? How old are you? Why don't you have a child as yet? What do you think about that kind of label from society?
I think that label, it hits every time and all the time. You know the reproductive conditions, right? So like every time someone says it like it hits like
It
boom.
triggers
This
certain, yes.
this is my life. This will be my situation each and every day. Remember that episode with Ellen? Like people were like, so you never have a child, so you never carry a child. Like we say it
It's
as if
like,
it's nothing.
and it's like
Yeah.
you are reliving the trauma over and over with someone
Over
breathing
and
over
over.
your shoulder and always reminding you of what you cannot be or what you cannot have
It's
at
a
the end of the
trigger
day.
all the time.
Sometimes people's freedom is also robbed from, certain medical conditions as well. Like imagine being in a queue for treatment.
Man,
You no
jeez.
longer have that privacy that you deserve, and your information about your personal life, it's literally exposed. Sometimes it also leads you to a point of dependency on people, because some of the conditions as well, they come with limitations that are beyond you. You have to depend on other people for support,
Oh
because
yeah.
one way or the other, the body is going to give up in a certain way. So I think those are some of the emotional struggles that actually hit people. Now
And
I have to wait for Pinky to come and, reach out for a glass for me to drink water. And, it's a lot
just
to take in.
like in clinics, that there is a queue certainly for people who are collecting ARV,
Mm,
you know.
mm,
So you actually that is your information being exposed right there.
mm. You are mentioning something very important, ne? So, meaning on the part of organizations, they can also come in to put measures into place that can also help such people, so that a person at the end of the day is not so scared to say, "Oh, my next door neighbor is gonna see me queuing for treatment, or they're going to know I'm receiving treatment for 1, 2, 3." There can be better ways of doing it within, the places where people get help. If we are to think of the impact that this stigma has on people, what kind of impact comes to your mind?
It affects your ability to actually seek help because
Okay.
you are afraid of what the society, the community is going to say. So
Mm,
I would rather hold back
mm,
than seek help.
If I see a mental health practitioner, or people will say I'm crazy or something. Those are
You
some of
know,
the fears that
mm,
most people can have. I'm also
true that.
thinking that sometimes you might find that it can emotionally influence you as well. Sometimes you end up becoming this angry, bitter person. You don't know where exactly those feelings are coming from. You start to be
Mm,
impulsive or even reckless
yeah,
with life generally, because of
you know.
whatever you're going through emotionally at that phase, because there is no support.
Mm, mm,
Mm.
mm. That,
I've heard people give scenarios, just in our social interactions. I've had people come to points where they talk about someone saying that I was given this disease by someone, particularly with conditions like HIV. They can think, okay, because I didn't deserve it, I didn't go looking for this thing. They become angry and bitter to the point that they go around spreading it to other people that do not deserve that kind of pain.
they're coming from a place of anger, place of
Of
pain,
mm,
then they just become reckless. It's like going to visit your person, then you find them with another person, then you drink, then you get into the road, you're driving. You're not thinking of the next person, like you might cause an accident, someone might die because of your recklessness.
mm,
It's like that, you know. I,
mm.
I got this disease, I didn't go out looking for it, so
Or someone becomes abusive, or they become bitter towards other children, maybe because generally they are also in a space where they are struggling with something and society is being mean to them. So they rather end up displacing, whether it's intentional or unintentional, they end up
unintentional.
displacing those emotions on a poor child who does not know what is going on in the world.
They become bullies. or
Inflicting
do not
pain on
deserve it.
other people. Sometimes as people, we are pushed to the limits. We can end up having things like suicidal thoughts and other
True.
mental health problems, like, for the likes of depression and all that.
Because truth of the matter is society is brutal. That's
Mm,
the honest truth.
mm.
Society is brutal.
What
We
about in terms of employment? Do you think these medical labels have an influence on someone's employability?
definitely, let's say I've suffered from clinical depression,
Mm,
and I
mm,
actually put it in my CV when I'm out there looking for work. Someone will say we cannot employ someone as our front desk who has such a condition. Or I
mm,
am looking for uh I want to be a maid. But
mm,
then they're like, no, I cannot have someone clean for me who actually has HIV, or I
mm.
cannot let someone babysit who was in prison or who once suffered from a gambling problem.
Sometimes those fears are not nullified as well. They come from, sometimes those fears come from a good place, but they are just portrayed in the wrong manner. Obviously,
Yes,
if I find that someone had an addiction and then they want to be my nanny, I'm gonna have my concerns as a human being as well. But
definitely,
how I put
definitely.
across my insecurities or my discomfort, it has to come with me being emotionally and mentally sensitive to this person's experience without necessarily becoming the one to victimize them and drag them back when they're trying to actually progress and make a change in their life moving forward.
I think it will take us to awareness. I don't have to be ignorant about it and just flatly say no. I think community society needs to be educated regarding these issues, because the fact that I suffered from clinical depression does
Mm,
not mean that I'm suffering from it now, or I'm not on medication. You can actually find out more information regarding it. Am I on medication? How long have I been having this condition, and how am I communicating or associating with the surroundings around me?
mm.
Then you can make a best decision based on the research and the awareness.
What we don't understand as people, it will always scare us. So
Yeah,
sometimes we are trying to analyze sources of why certain things are happening. We try to rationalize them a lot. And in all that, sometimes we don't even have the adequate information.
actually, Nick,
Mm,
regarding relationships, yes, how
yes.
does it have an impact in a relationship? How does it impact a relationship?
Um, you know, it affects issues of intimacy, obviously.
Mm-hmm,
Intimacy is
mm-hmm.
damaged with your loved ones. It ends, people start to fight about this thing in their relationship. Why is things happening a certain way? Why is our sex life not so, outstandingly good? Like we hear other people talk about what we see on TV. They start to compare, they start to complain about certain things that they are unhappy about in the relationships. And also, you find that when you talk of things like the one you were mentioning, where women cannot give birth, family
Yeah,
comes in, you get married after a certain couple of months, people are expecting you to be, with a bump right in front of you, following you everywhere you go. And then when they don't see that bump, they're like, okay, is everything fine here? We see that, and
and we have this ignorance question that
yes,
we always ask, like, why are you not pregnant yet? Or like,
mm, they will definitely suffer that discrimination in the relationships because of whatever medical label that they are attached to and the stigma that's just out there.
someone who actually decide not to date or to be in an intimacy relationship, because every time you have to disclose your illness to the person that you're supposed to be with.
Imagine you have struggles with intimacy. The first thing that is going to be affected is your self-esteem. So, which
Mm.
means that even if it comes to approaching people in situations, you can't approach a person to be in a relationship with them. You feel like you are inadequate, you're not good enough, you don't deserve. You start to struggle with your confidence as well in that relationship. So yeah,
Mm.
it
Mm.
does. It definitely does affect your ability to even date. For others, it even affects their marriages. For others, it affects just the general relationships.
Itself,
Mm,
people become withdrawn
mm,
and cagey.
mm.
Yeah.
But what is it that causes the stigma? Why the stigma? Is it that people are scared? If they're scared, what is the fear about?
It's actually fear, a fear of actually contracting the illness.
So you're saying there's fear of contracting the illness. Does it mean that all
Mm.
of these diseases, they are these medical labels? Let's go back to the actual term. The medical labels. Does it mean that they are contagious diseases, or it's just
No,
that
no.
people are misinformed about the disease?
People are misinformed about them. Not
Mm,
all of them are contagious. Let's take COVID, for example. We know
mm,
that COVID is contagious and all of that. But
mm,
then I recovered from COVID, and then now I can actually associate with the community. But you'll find people are still withdrawn
mm.
just because I had had COVID.
They're scared
So
of you even when you go to the workplace environment. They are
must
very jittery around you. And okay, so it's misinformation on the nature of condition, basically.
yes.
I think stigma is also an easy way of people dealing with things. Because remember, when we are in a relationship or when we are in society, one of the most
Mm.
important elements that count, it's acceptance. So now
All
imagine
right.
now you have this condition. I have to accept you. And if I
Yes.
accept you, then it means I have to be part and parcel of you dealing with the problem.
So it's more of like
So
running away from
yes, so
responsibility.
if I just stigmatize you, then it becomes easy on my end because now I no longer have to be involved with your condition and I no longer
Uh-huh.
have to be there to accept you and to see you through it.
Then it's way easier for you
It's
to
an
be
easy
charging.
escape. That's my
Yeah.
thinking.
It's more of a coping mechanism. You don't want to be responsible.
When I'm thinking of it now, sometimes we mislabel conditions and we associate them to
For attack.
curse. It's a
Yeah.
spiritual attack, it's a curse. Maybe you've sinned against God. Maybe this is your punishment, all those
Mm.
kinds of things, rather than it is just an uncontrollable ailment that has just befallen you as a person. So, how do we
Yeah.
then now come to a point where we stop this stigma? We stop these struggles that people have with medical labels. You mentioned it
Okay.
first. You already mentioned one of the important facts when you were talking about awareness.
Yes.
Nowadays, there's a lot of things going on. Live shows, people can read books, people can get
Mm-hmm.
pamphlets. But when we get pamphlets in the streets, what do we do?
Use them
I'm
as training.
guilty. I'm guilty as charged, Pinky. When I get those pamphlets from the streets, I use them
Yeah.
if I can't find my dustpan when I'm sweeping the house. I use
They
that.
become your discount.
It comes in very handy because it's a little bit hard, eh? And it's a clean paper that I can just use in
Yeah.
that moment and get rid of. I'm guilty as charged. So
You
information
use
is out there, but sometimes I think we are not ready and we are not receiving it as people. TV shows are happening, where they are teaching people
it.
on medical conditions. What do you need to do? What are the causes? People call in, they ask questions, certain things are clarified. Internet is there, you read about this condition. Social
Before COVID, we
platforms,
used to have live shows. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm, you read about
Yeah.
these things. Awareness is there. But I think as people, we are not ready to receive what the source is for us to be able to resolve the problem. But
I mhm.
if we can focus on the education, I think then we are doing ourselves justice because it will help
I would
us to understand.
I would actually love to believe that even if we have the awareness or the education, I will always take it back to my motto, show kindness. Never know
Mm,
what the next person is going through. You have
mm,
to be a compassionate person
mm,
first, for you to actually to to have the will to know or to learn about such diagnosis, So you have to be a loving person, you have to be a very kind person. Then you get education, then you get the awareness. Awareness is, like you were saying, the pamphlets and all of that. I think the most effective one will be the live shows because I'm actually paying attention to,
And I think news media is a very influential platform where, certain, we need to actually challenge and improve how certain cases are reported as well on social media. Because people get jittery and imagine when the moment you hear something on the news, you take it really seriously. So I think if the reporting and the way the information is delivered to people can also be improved on that aspect, it will really help people to learn more and offer people that are having these medical conditions the necessary support that they deserve.
Need, because they actually do need support from us as a community, society.
Think of a time when some statement is said on media and then the next morning there is violence. It's just evidence enough to show you how this news media have so much influence on what people do in society and how they change certain things, the notions that they withhold and all that.
Or a person will end up changing location, I'll end up moving, going to another city, another town, starting another life just because there's too much judgmenting that's going on in my community because we're not supporting and we're not kind to one another.
I think how we can address that in society, Pinky, like you said, compassion, avoiding hateful labels that hold judgment, and replacing all those negative perceptions and generalizations that we have created for ourselves in relation to certain medical labels and replacing them with evidence-based facts. It's a very important thing. The reason why people end up moving, it's because we are seeing the problem, not the person. We see the HIV, but we don't see Nicole. We see the reproductive condition, but we don't see Pinky. But
true.
When we put more focus on the person, it helps us to redirect our effort and our energy at the end of the day. Sometimes we also have to help the victim, because if we don't help the victim through things like individual counseling, couples therapy, family therapy, we are not empowering them enough to give them, a sense of control and remove that helplessness that they have towards their condition. So it's another way that we can also help with the stigma, because it's not only us focusing on the victimizers, but the victim also needs some form of attention as well, so that they get the necessary support. And I'm also thinking things like support groups, where you sit down, you share with other people who are going through similar experiences.
To the people with the illnesses, I think what I will say is accepting, the illness, getting the necessary help. It becomes very easy for you to block negative or hateful things that are being said by others if you know who you are and if you have accepted your illness,
And I'm also thinking, things like outreach to family levels, and community level, like maybe when we talk of organizations like schools, maybe. And maybe lastly, my other thought would be that we always listen to people of influence. That's a reality. People of influence, we always listen to them. They can help us create policies, review and re-examine certain languages that are used to describe the condition, so that those terms do not end up inciting discrimination on people that are suffering certain conditions. If we know that we've got our host, Pinky, and then you are the one giving the medical label, what about the people that follow after you?
They see it as an okay thing to do.
Yeah. But I hope today someone learned something out there, Pinky. Maybe you were the victim. Maybe you were the victimizer.
Before you judge, get to know the facts, get to know the person not as a problem, and share love. Be kind.
See the person, not the problem. For more on our episodes, on these relatable conversations, powerful and empowering messages, and access to these discussions on actionable tips, please check us on our website www.realoutloud.co.za or other podcast platforms such as Google Play, iTunes, and many other. Our episodes are also accessible on social media platforms indicated on our website and our YouTube page. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and invite others to our web page. Ciao!